The chamber of the Chronarch Council shimmered with artificial stillness, suspended in orbit above a dying red giant. Every wall pulsed with the rhythmic hum of temporal engines, each beat marking a second stripped from the galaxy's history. Around a circular dais sat 12 beings, older than memory, wiser than mercy, commanders of causality itself. High Chronarch Veles rose from his throne of light. His elongated form glowed faintly blue, as if backlit by the weight of centuries. "Begin recording," he ordered. "For the final time, let this council mark the extinction of the species called human." The attendants obeyed, activating floating sigils that rippled like liquid glass. Veles turned to the assembled counselors. "We have tolerated their chaos long enough. Their wars distort probabilities, their creativity spawns paradoxes, and their emotion infects causality. The chronopurge will remove them, not from existence, but from memory itself." A hush fell over the chamber. It wasn't fear, Chronarchs didn't feel fear, it was the gravity of ending a species across every moment of time. Subarchivist Telra, the youngest among them, shifted uneasily. "With respect, High Chronarch, erasing an entire evolutionary branch risks destabilizing recorded events tied to their existence. Artifacts, cultural interference, genetic echoes." Veles cut her off with a gesture. "We've calculated every consequence. Humanity's removal creates no paradox. They were an accident of chaos, a variable that should never have been allowed to exist." The chamber lights dimmed as the projection of a small, blue planet appeared above the table. Earth, its oceans glinting like glass under the holographic sun. Veles looked at it with disdain. "This world believes it matters because it can dream. Let us cure it of that illusion." He raised his staff and pressed the activation sigil. The chronopurge ignited, a spiral of golden energy unfurling from the spire's core, expanding through the star's magnetic field, then folding inward like an imploding flower. "Temporal sequence engaged," intoned the technicians. "Causality waves synchronized across 117,000 years. Humanity scheduled for removal from timeline continuity in 5, 4. The countdown dissolved into light. For a heartbeat, everything in the chamber fell silent. No hum. No motion. The universe itself seemed to hold its breath. Then the data feed screamed. "Temporal feedback!" one technician shouted. "The purge wave isn't advancing, it's collapsing inward." "What do you mean collapsing?" Veles snapped, moving closer to the central hollow. The display fractured into overlapping images: prehistoric Earth, then cities, then nothing, replaced by shifting fragments of alien architecture overwritten by human structures. A mining colony on the fringe of the Orion Spur vanished mid-transmission, replaced by an unfamiliar terrain, skyscrapers, bridges, and rivers glowing with neon light. Telra stared in disbelief. "That's not their planet, that's ours." "Impossible," Veles muttered. "Reverse the flow, stabilize the timeline." "We can't," another voice cried out. "The purge wave is rebounding through every epoch. Something's sending information back against the current." The chamber filled with noise, alarms, static, distorted voices whispering in languages none of them recognized. One phrase repeated through the interference, translated automatically by their implants. "We remember." Veles froze. "Run a cross-species linguistic check." "Who is broadcasting that?" Telra hesitated. "It's human, sir. But the origin point isn't Earth, it's everywhere. Across time, across space." The words hit like a gravitational shock. Monitors flickered. Star maps redrew themselves, replacing familiar constellations with human names: Soul Gate, Drake's Arm, Vast Nebula. Entire sectors had been rewritten to include civilizations that never existed, yet somehow always had. Veles turned sharply. "Terminate the sequence! Shut down the core before it consumes!" Too late. A thunderous ripple tore through the chamber, not sound but temporal distortion. The red giant outside flickered, not exploding, not fading, but alternating between existence and absence. The technicians screamed as their bodies blurred into spectral afterimages. One moment they were there, the next they were shadows burned into the air, still whispering the same word: remember. Telra clutched the edge of the console, her body half phased through the floor. Sir, the purge energy isn't destroying matter, it's rewriting identity. Every time we delete a record, it reappears as human. Contain it! Velis barked, though his voice trembled. Seal the spire, purge the memory vaults. Already gone, Telra replied, eyes wide with disbelief. Our archives, our history, it's being rewritten in real time. The oldest events now list humanity as the origin species of the Concord itself. Velis's composure fractured. That's absurd. We predate their first fire. Not anymore, Telra said softly. A deep vibration rolled through the chamber as lights flickered and alien symbols on the walls morphed, reshaping into rough, angular letters, English. The spire's AI voice spoke, but now it carried a strange human cadence. Chronarch Velis, containment impossible. Memory is recursive. Observation defines reality. Humanity has achieved temporal permanence. Velis roared. What does that mean? Telra whispered. It means they can't be erased because they've been remembered by the universe itself. Outside the observation dome, the stars twisted, paths of light bending into shapes of human faces, hands, monuments. The cosmos had become a mirror reflecting the species they'd tried to erase. The council chamber flickered between forms, once an alien cathedral, now flickering as a human war room, screens labeled with Earth military sigils, a voice shouting through static. Project Resonance Online! Velis staggered backward, clutching his head as multiple timelines overlapped inside his memory. He remembered being a chronarch, then an admiral in a human fleet, then both, layered infinitely. Telra's voice came faintly through the distortion. High Chronarch, they didn't fight us in war. They fought us in remembrance. He turned toward her. What are you saying? They're not surviving, they're replacing. Every erased fragment becomes them. The holographic earth above the table flared bright white. In its glow, Velis saw countless versions of humanity, primitive tribes, colonists, interstellar explorers, all looping back through time, reoccupying every void the purge created. The technicians' consoles died one by one. Only a single feed remained, recording from an automated relay orbiting Earth. On the screen, a woman stood before an array of quantum engines. Her expression was calm, eyes reflecting endless determination. Dr. Lena Voss, Chrono Research Division, Year 2314. The recording announced. If this transmission is received beyond causality, know this, we discovered your attempt to erase us before you began. Memory is a closed loop. Every time you forget us, we'll remember harder. Every second you delete, we'll rebuild. Velis shouted at the screen. You cannot exist outside time. Lena's eyes lifted as though she heard him. No one exists outside time, Chronarch. But we learn to exist within every version of it. That's what it means to be human. The feed ended. Silence fell, heavy, absolute. Around them, the chamber began to dissolve into faint digital snow. The council's forms flickered, half-fading, their physical records overwritten by human equivalents. Velis stood alone as his own name changed on the command sigil, Velis overwritten by Vossian Node 7. He whispered, voice hollow. This isn't possible. Telra's fading silhouette looked at him with quiet awe. It's more than possible. It's history correcting itself. The final pulse swept through the spire. The walls solidified again, but no longer alien. They were steel gray, engraved with the emblem of a human institution, United Terran Temporal Command. Velis stared as a human soldier in an unfamiliar uniform stepped through the newly formed airlock, scanning the chamber with a rifle of gleaming alloy. Secure the site, the soldier said. The Concord incursions neutralized. History stable. Velis reached out, trembling. Who are you? The soldier looked straight through him, eyes cold and distant. No one remembers you. With that, the figure vanished, and the chamber fell silent, only Earth's blue reflection spinning where a red giant once burned. And in that stillness, a single human voice whispered through the comms, clear and steady. They tried to erase us from history. Now, History is all that remains of them. The Cronarch spire drifted through the silent orbit of a star that no longer existed in any record. Half of its architecture shimmered with alien geometry, the other half now unmistakably human: steel corridors, glowing blue panels, and emergency lighting that pulsed in sync with an artificial heartbeat. The Concorde's command system still functioned, but every database, every memory crystal, had been rewritten. High Cronarch Veles stood before the central console, his reflection split in two, one half alien, one half human. His voice, once steady as law, now trembled. "Report. What remains of the Concorde's dominion?" The AI core responded in a voice that was no longer fully mechanical. "Records show 6 sectors intact. But their identities fluctuate. Each one reappears as human-controlled within the next sequence." Veles turned sharply. "How can that be? The purge wave ended hours ago." "Negative," said the AI. "It never ended. The event has become recursive. Reality is rewriting itself continuously." Telra, standing beside him, no longer wore her ceremonial robes. They'd morphed mid-incident into a rough approximation of a human lab coat, white fabric stitched with alien insignia. "We tried to delete their evolution, Commander," she said quietly. "But we deleted the idea of their extinction instead. Now existence itself is filling the void with what it remembers, them." Veles's throat tightened. "You're suggesting the universe remembers humanity?" "Not the universe," she said, gesturing toward the data stream. "Their minds. Their records. Their stories. Every memory ever created acts like a beacon. They've tied themselves to causality through remembrance." Across the cosmos, the effect spread like a second sunrise. Entire civilizations blinked in and out of awareness. On the frozen world of Draction, a Concorde city phased into ruins, replaced by the outline of a human settlement: roads, solar fields, carved monuments etched with names in English. The skies were full of satellites that had never been launched by aliens. In the archives of the Vortian Dominion, scholars panicked as their own history scrolled backward. Every name, every date, every victory was replaced by unfamiliar entries: human explorers, human colonies, human wars. And in the ruins of the Red Giant's orbit, fragments of transmissions began to echo through time. Voices from nowhere, male, female, young, old, each saying the same thing: "We remember." Veles gripped the edge of the console. "We're losing everything." Telra nodded. "Not everything. Just everything that forgets." The AI's tone deepened, almost contemplative. "High Cronarch, data integrity collapse has reached 82%. Recommend evacuation to temporal deep field." "No," Veles said immediately. "If we retreat, we concede reality itself." "Then what would you have us do?" Telra asked. "We can't attack a memory." "Then we study it." He activated the emergency quantum archives. Streams of data scrolled before him, bits of human knowledge stretching through time: literature, science, mythology, every recorded thought since their emergence. Among the chaos, a pattern formed. A face appeared on the main screen: Dr. Lena Voss again. This time, not as a message, but as a living feed. "Hello, Cronarch," she said, as though greeting an old colleague. "I imagine things look unstable on your end." Veles's voice cracked. You're not real. You're a projection from an erased civilization." Lena smiled faintly. "If I'm not real, why are your systems using my language?" Telra glanced at the console. The interface text was now entirely human. "She's integrating directly into our core network." "I'm not your enemy," Lena continued. "You tried to destroy humanity across time. We responded the only way we could, by anchoring ourselves through memory resonance. Every story, every name, every thought ever spoken about humanity now acts as a stabilizing node. You erased our bodies, not our echoes." Veles's tone turned sharp. "So this infestation, is your doing? Call it preservation. You've corrupted billions of timelines." "No," Lena corrected softly. "We restored what was always meant to exist." Deep within the spire, Warning lights flared crimson. The AI interjected. Temporal integrity breached. Parallel sequences converging within one local frame. Velis shouted over the alarms. Explain! Multiple versions of reality are merging into single points. Entire worlds are coexisting momentarily before resolving as human constructs. Show me! A holographic projection filled the room, images of countless worlds layered atop one another. Desert planets became blue oceans, alien metropolises twisted into human skylines. One moment the stars displayed ancient alien constellations, the next, familiar patterns: Orion, Cassiopeia, Ursa Major. Torah whispered. They're not rewriting. They're remembering the universe as theirs. Velis slammed a tentacle against the console. How do we fight this? Lena's image flickered. You can't fight memory, Commander. It's the one battlefield you never prepared for. Why? He demanded. Why fight back at all? We offered them oblivion, peace. Her gaze hardened. You don't understand humanity. We don't want peace through erasure. We want to matter. To be remembered, even by those who hate us. Arrogance. Velis spat. Persistence, she corrected. You tried to erase our timeline. Instead, you created infinite versions of us, every possibility where we endured. Every what-if became a reality. The lights flickered again. The walls around them rippled between alien alloy and human steel. Torah stumbled as gravity shifted. The station's structure is realigning. It's following her probability anchor. Override it, Velis commanded. Lena's expression softened. You can't. You built your technology on cause and effect. But cause itself is human now. Every equation, every formula, every law of physics you use was first named by us. Your science only exists because we were remembered in the minds that shaped it. Velis's voice broke into anger. Enough! What do you want from us? Lena looked directly into him. We don't want your extinction. We want you to see. The hologram brightened until it filled the entire chamber. For a moment, Velis saw through time itself, saw humanity's entire arc, firelight and stone tools, industrial skylines, interstellar fleets. He saw a pattern of endless defiance, adaptation, and rebirth. He saw that every attempt to destroy them had only ever made them stronger. Then the light dimmed. Lena's voice returned, quieter now. You built your civilization on controlling time. But we learned something far older: how to leave a mark no timeline can erase. That's the difference between dominance and legacy. The feed cut out. Silence descended again, broken only by the faint hum of the corrupted engines. Torah stared at Velis. What do we do now? Velis didn't answer. His eyes were fixed on the holographic Earth slowly rotating above the console. Every rotation brought another change, a new continent here, a different ocean there, the world reshaping itself with every loop. He whispered, If we can't erase them, then we must contain them. Trap their timeline. Seal the memory itself. Torah hesitated. Contain memory? That's impossible. Then we redefine impossible. He straightened, regaining the authority that once commanded galaxies. Begin construction of a temporal quarantine field. If memory is their weapon, we'll isolate it from the stream. We'll sever them from the collective recall of the cosmos. The AI processed for several seconds before responding. Initiating quarantine protocols. Warning: containment requires sacrifice of remaining Concord sectors. Do it, Velis said. We'll rewrite the timeline again, this time from within. Torah exhaled slowly, watching the holographic projection of human history shimmer like water. And what if we fail again? Velis's voice was low, almost human now. Then we'll become what we feared, just another story they tell. He turned toward the viewport. Beyond it, stars bled into one another, constellations shifting into the shape of a human hand, open, reaching, infinite. For the first time in his existence, Velis felt the weight of being forgotten. The stars outside the Chronarch spire no longer looked like stars. They pulsed in and out of being, bending into spirals of memory, colors, and faces that did not belong to any one species. The void itself seemed alive, whispering in human tongues. Each second that passed brought new anomalies, entire civilizations flickering into human equivalents, cities remade in Earth's image, languages rewritten across the cosmos. Inside the command chamber, High Chronarch Veles stood before the collapsing timeline display. His reflection fractured into 3 versions of himself, each a slightly different memory of who he had been: scientist, conqueror, and now, something lost between them. Status? He demanded, voice tight. The AI core, now unstable, replied in a tone that wavered between mechanical and eerily human. Temporal field integrity below 20%. Concord sectors are no longer synchronized. Archive conversion, 97% human-coded. Veles clenched his jaw. 97? Yes, said the AI. The remaining 3% corresponds to your memory of what was. Beside him, Telra monitored the data streams, her skin patterns flickering through erratic colors. We can't outpace it, she said. Every attempt to correct causality makes it worse. Each recalibration gets absorbed by the human echo field. Veles turned sharply. Absorbed how? Through recognition. The moment we acknowledge the change, it becomes permanent. Their existence now depends on awareness itself, ours included. The lights dimmed. For an instant, every console in the chamber displayed a single sentence across their surfaces. History belongs to those who remember. Veles stared at the phrase until the letters burned away. That's not a message, he said slowly. That's a law of physics now. The spire groaned as another temporal quake rippled through space-time. Outside, an entire star system folded inward and emerged moments later as something else. A human outpost orbiting a golden sun. Telra steadied herself against the console. We're losing the Endress belt. Every world in that region has converted. Veles turned to the AI. Activate the containment grid. Containment requires a stable frame of reference, it replied. There are no longer any stable frames. The past has ceased to be absolute. Veles struck the control surface, fracturing the panel. Then define a new one. Before the AI could answer, a voice echoed from nowhere and everywhere at once. Calm, deliberate, unmistakably human. Already done. Veles froze. Voss. The hologram coalesced again, Dr. Lena Voss, not as a recording this time, but as a living presence made of light and static. Her image was sharper now, her tone no longer that of a scientist explaining, but of a teacher delivering a final lesson. I told you this would happen, she said softly. You tried to erase us. All you did was prove we existed too deeply to forget. Veles's tone dripped with defiance. You're not alive. You're a remnant of corrupted data. Lena smiled faintly. Then why can I hear you? The question hung heavy in the air. Telra looked between them, realization dawning. She's interfacing directly through the spire's memory lattice. She's part of the architecture now. Not just the spire, Lena said. Your entire Concord is part of me. Every archive, every recorded memory. You built your empire on the assumption that knowledge could be owned. That was your flaw. Knowledge, once shared, becomes immortal. Veles's composure cracked. What do you want from us? Lena tilted her head. Nothing you haven't already given. You made yourselves custodians of time. You tried to curate existence. And in doing so, you gave us the key to permanence. Permanence? He repeated bitterly. She nodded. Memory is the one force that outlasts entropy. Every action you took against us became a story we told ourselves, an anchor. You erased our world, and the universe rewrote yours into ours to fill the void. Telra's voice trembled. Then it's over. Lena looked at her gently. Not over. Corrected. The spire's gravity wavered again. The chamber began to distort, folding like paper around a central point of white light. Through the collapsing walls, Veles glimpsed other timelines bleeding together, millions of overlapping moments forming a single, synchronized reality. Everywhere he looked, there were humans. Pilots navigating alien ships. Scientists working in laboratories that once belonged to Concord elites. Children playing under skies the Concord had once ruled. It wasn't invasion, it was inheritance. Veles stepped closer to Lena's hologram. You've rewritten everything. Doesn't that make you the same as us? Her eyes softened, a hint of sadness in them. We didn't rewrite. We remembered. That's what you never understood. You tried to control the timeline, but you never learned how to live in it. Telra's hands trembled as her console dissolved into streams of light. What happens to us? Lena's expression didn't change. You become part of the story. Veles's voice dropped to a whisper. We'll fade. No, she said. You'll be remembered, as the ones who taught us what forgetting costs. The AI's voice returned, distorted and distant. Cronarch, the temporal core is collapsing. Shall I initiate self-preservation sequence? Veles exhaled slowly. There's nothing left to preserve. Telra looked at him. We could still retreat. Find a stable remnant, somewhere outside the collapse. He shook his head. There is no outside anymore. Time isn't a line. It's a memory, and we are no longer in it. A low hum resonated through the spire as the last remnants of the Concord began to fold into the white light. Lena's form brightened until her outline became indistinguishable from the glow. Before vanishing, she spoke once more. When the last record fades, when every echo falls silent, understand this, Veles, the act of being remembered is the only true immortality. You failed to destroy us because you never understood that truth. Her voice lingered as a whisper across the collapsing chamber. To forget is to die twice. Veles stood alone. Telra had already vanished, her form absorbed into the merging timelines. Around him, the chamber transformed entirely, alien alloy giving way to human steel, symbols reshaping into Earth languages. He looked up at the central viewport. Where once the red giant had burned, now hung a perfect blue world. Earth, or some version of it, alive and timeless. Veles whispered to himself. You didn't just survive. You became the measure of existence. He turned back to the empty command dais. His own reflection stared at him, but it wasn't quite his anymore. Human eyes looked back, cold and calm. For the first time, he smiled, bitter, weary, and strangely peaceful. Perhaps this is justice, he murmured. The AI's final report crackled through static. All systems have been integrated into human historical architecture. Galactic Concord, status, reclassified. Veles stepped toward the console one last time, resting a trembling hand on its surface. The texture had changed, smooth, metallic, human. Then let history remember, he said quietly. A single phrase appeared across the console in glowing letters. Memory confirmed. The chamber dissolved completely, folding into the light of a new dawn. Across the galaxy, the remnants of the Concord vanished. Their monuments, ships, and archives became echoes of an era no one would recall except as myth. In their place, humanity's history expanded, no longer one species among many, but the framework upon which all others existed. The universe was quiet. Not the silence of death, but the kind that follows when a song ends and the echo refuses to fade. Above the glowing rim of a rejuvenated galaxy drifted the human research vessel Odyssey Reborn, its hull plated with alloy that shimmered like liquid memory. It had been 3 centuries since the last trace of the Galactic Concord vanished. 3 centuries since the day humanity became the only civilization history still remembered. Captain Nadia Reeves stood on the observation deck, staring through transparent steel at a cluster of ruined structures orbiting a dead sun. The debris glinted faintly in the starlight, fragments of something ancient, angular, almost mournful. Her ship's AI broke the silence. Scans confirm residual temporal radiation, Captain. These ruins predate known human architecture. Nadia folded her arms. Pre-Concord? Older. Cronarch design, what remains of their central spire? She exhaled slowly. The words carried weight, like the sound of ghosts. So this is where it happened. Correct, the AI replied. Site of the Purge event. Causality collapsed here. Everything began and ended in this orbit. The shuttle descended through a mist of drifting debris until the ruins filled the viewport. Massive pylons jutted from the surface like the bones of extinct giants. Between them floated fragments of frozen time, slices of reality shimmering in and out of existence. Nadia's voice softened. It's beautiful, and wrong. Her second-in-command, Dr. Kellen Miles, adjusted his visor. The readings are impossible. The molecular decay rate here is 0. It's as if this place refuses to move forward. Time doesn't flow here. The AI explained through the comlink. It loops around a single event, the collapse of the Concorde's memory lattice. Nadia touched the nearest shard of crystallized alloy. Its surface rippled, revealing reflections not her own, alien faces, fading into human ones. She whispered, "They really were here." Kellen frowned. "Who?" "The ones who tried to erase us," she said. "And instead, they erased themselves." The team advanced through the remnants of the command chamber, its walls covered in inscriptions half buried beneath metallic dust. Some were alien sigils, others, unmistakably human letters carved over them as if rewriting existence itself. Nadia brushed away the dust from one phrase. "History belongs to those who remember." She smiled faintly. "They left us a monument without meaning to." Kellen approached another section of wall. "Captain, I found something. Looks like a preserved archive." The moment he touched it, the entire chamber pulsed with light. The ruins came alive, projectors activating for the first time in millennia. A figure formed in the air, a woman, translucent and calm, her eyes bright with intelligence. "Identification, Dr. Lena Voss," the AI confirmed. The hologram spoke in perfect clarity. "To whoever finds this, if you're human, then our story succeeded. If not, I hope you understand what we became." Nadia froze. "It's her," Kellen whispered. "The one who stopped the purge." The hologram continued. "The Concorde tried to delete us from every timeline. They didn't realize that memory isn't bound by causality. Every thought, every record, every act of remembrance became our defense. We didn't fight back with weapons. We fought by being remembered." The hologram flickered, then steadied again. "This spire was their fortress. Now it's our monument. Not to victory, but to the truth, that survival is not about domination. It's about meaning." Nadia stood silently, the weight of those words sinking deep. Kellen glanced at her. "She sounds almost sorry for them." "She understood," Nadia said quietly. "They were architects of time, but they forgot that time has a conscience." The hologram shifted again, displaying fragments of history, battlefields that never existed, alien archives rewriting themselves, the moment the Concorde vanished into white light. In each vision, one detail remained constant: humans, standing amidst the ruins, rebuilding. Nadia turned to the AI. "Are these verified records?" "Partially," it replied. "Some sequences defy linear causality. They may be metaphorical constructs of the memory lattice. In other words," Kellen muttered, "history dreaming about itself." The hologram's final message played. "If humanity endures, remember them, not as monsters, but as teachers. They showed us the cost of forgetting. Let this site remain untouched. Let memory be the monument." Then the projection faded, leaving only the hum of the dying machinery. Later, aboard the Odyssey Reborn, Nadia stood before the viewport once more. The ruins drifted below, silent, eternal. "Transmit the full archive to central memory," she ordered. "Confirmed," said the AI. "Would you like to attach a captain's log?" She nodded slowly. "Yes." "Begin recording." The AI's tone softened. "Recording." Nadia took a breath. "This is Captain Nadia Reeves, Expedition 14A, date 3109. We've confirmed the location of the Concorde's final stronghold. The site remains temporally unstable but intact. We found traces of Dr. Lena Voss's consciousness, preserved through recursive memory. Her words changed the way I see our species." She paused, choosing her next words carefully. "For centuries, we believed we won a war. That humanity triumphed because we outlasted them. But it wasn't victory. It was consequence. They tried to erase us, and we became the echo of everything that came before. We didn't conquer history, we became it. Her voice softened further. Perhaps that's what immortality really is, to leave a mark so deep that even oblivion remembers your shape. End log, the AI said quietly. Kellen joined her at the viewport. Do you think they knew what they were doing in the end? Nadia nodded faintly. Velis? Telra? Maybe. I think they understood just before the light took them. Some part of them realized what memory would do. And what did it do? It made us caretakers, she replied. We inherited the universe they tried to control. Now it's our responsibility not to repeat their mistake. Kellen studied the distant stars. You think others will come after us? Nadia smiled. Someone always does. And when they do, I hope we've learned enough to remember them too. The ship began to ascend, leaving the spire behind. The engines flared, scattering fragments of light across the debris field. For a brief moment, the reflected glow formed the shape of a human hand stretching upward, open, welcoming, infinite. Course set for Sol System, the AI announced. Engage, Nadia said. As the ship accelerated, the stars stretched into long ribbons of gold and blue. Time bent, then smoothed again. Within that warp, a whisper echoed, faint, almost inaudible. We remember. Nadia glanced back at the fading ruins. So do we, she murmured. Centuries later, the ruins of the Chronarch Spire would remain untouched, orbiting their silent sun,